in wikis a lot back in the day,
Yeah.
and I always liked to look at like the contents of the wiki and just kind of chart my progress, not look anything up, but
Yeah.
say, okay, I'm on this level. I have 3 more worlds to go or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
like more as like a mark of being like, okay, so this is where I am in the game. This is how far I have to go. Because especially not every game has like a level select screen or something where you can see that. So it is
Yeah,
helpful to, if you're trying to beat a game. I still even use it for that exact same purpose, figuring out how far I am into a
but
video
then there's
game.
always that moment where it's like, okay,
Oh,
I'm up to chapter 11, and it's like, oh, battle with your clone or something,
yeah, yeah.
and then you spoil.
I mean, they've always been like spoiler heavy things. You hit on an interesting point too, which is that you and I were, as we are with all these things, born and raised in a very interesting time where we were just there. Like print strategy guides were like still very much so a thing when you and I were younger. And for me, it was the same thing. Like I kind of remember looking through them when I was very young for games I would never play. I didn't really care about story spoilers and stuff because in some ways, like I remember my cousin had one for Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness, which is not a good game, but I remember looking through it and being
Hmm.
like, "Oh, what this happens and that happens," and like I didn't feel like spoilers because one, I mean, I was 8, and two,
Hmm.
I just knew that I didn't.
Yeah, well, at a younger age, it could be like more of like a fascinating window and
Yeah, yeah.
another way into this game.
Especially if it's a game that like your parents won't let you play or
Or yeah, if you're at school, I remember taking guides to school and just poring over them. Like, this is
yeah.
my key to this right now.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's something so cool about them. They're so tactile and like you're like, I have all the answers. I know everything.
Yeah. Also, yeah, when you love a game and you just want to know everything.
Yeah. And I do think it has kind of progressed to this point that they are now kind of more like collector's items for people our age.
I
Kind of
actually remember going back to Twilight Princess, being embarrassed to have that guide in my room while I was playing it,
did you
because I
really
was actually I regretted looking some things up because I think I could have figured them out.
you feel like you felt like you were kind of like a little like cheating the game a bit by playing them,
Yeah, or cheating myself
cheating yourself.
out of the experience.
Interesting. That's an interesting point. So for
I value figuring things out on my own a lot. I think that's it.
Okay, so for you, is it more to kind of get into it? And I think we're going to get into this in a little bit more in depth, but
Yeah.
just to kind of introduce the subject, you kind of tend to think of things more as the gameplay itself is the important part. So if you're looking up the answer to something, you're robbing yourself of that aha moment where you realize how to
Yeah.
beat something.
I bought the game to get that feeling and that
Yeah,
experience. So I feel like unless I'm that stuck.
yeah. I see. For me, it's kind of the opposite. I feel that way now, but when I was younger, I feel like I was more like I just wanted to get through a game in progress and see everything that happened. Like I wanted to get to the end, or because there's that status of like, oh, I beat this game, especially when you're younger and you don't like when you're very young and like you're just learning video games and you're not quite at that point that like you beat everything, which I was at for a while too. I know I kind of was because I started slower in video games. I didn't start until the PS2 era. I was a little older when I got my first console, so I did feel like I was playing catch up a bit with people. So I wanted to have like a lot of notches on my belt, like a lot of games I beat.
Yeah.
So I sometimes prioritize that over figuring things out. So I did look at guides and stuff when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I like try to beat games as much as possible without a guide. Like
Yeah.
even playing like Doom recent, like there's a point in Doom I was stuck in a freaking level for about 3 days,
Hmm.
and I refused to look up the answer, and I finally found it.
Yeah, I think I would say when I was younger, I was much more adamant about being strict with myself and not looking anything up. But these days, I'm more liberal, and I might have a little less patience because I have less time to play games overall. So
Yeah,
I'm I'm sooner to look something up these days.
I get that, and I do feel that way to a certain degree. I feel like for me now, it's more I just won't play a game unless I have the time. I feel like that's my answer for that, but I understand that POV of just like, okay, I need to figure out how to get through this thing. I need to see the next thing.
Well, when something's just bogging you down, or too frustrating, or you don't care about the game that much.
That's it too. I think your personal investment in a game kind of determines how much, interestingly enough, how much you care about looking up the answer and also the type of game it is. Like The
That's
Witness.
important, yeah.
Yeah. Like did you play The Witness at all?
No,
Like for that game, like the entire experience is like the line puzzles and
but you don't want to know anything,
yeah.
right?
I didn't even look at video reviews for that game because I didn't
Yeah.
want to see any like the puzzle answers in the review.
And on the flip side of that, when I play Pokemon, I won't play that without a wiki opened. I'll have my laptop open to like Cerebi
Yeah,
or whatever. Just what's this gonna evolve into? Where do I find this guy? Like I'm not
yeah.
wasting any time in Pokemon. You
Oh,
know?
yeah. Oh, I had every Pokemon. So when I was younger, I think I had like the most doggiest dog-eared copy of like the
Yeah,
silver and gold one. Like I broke that thing down, tearing through it, trying to figure out every like evolution and stuff.
yeah.
Like
Like if I'm playing Zelda, it's very important to me that I get through the challenges on my own.
yeah,
But something like Pokemon or something that's just collecting or or it's just there's so much to do that the only way you're going to do it is if you look it up.
there's no way you can kind of get around that. Like you do have to kind of get to that point that you say, okay, some Lion King music over this.